Welcome back to the CRL Podcast. My name is Caleb Smith, driver of the 54 High Five Racing truck and ARCA car on Monday and Wednesday nights, joined by Jacob and Rob.
This is your boy Jakob, driver of the number 19 truck and ARCA on Mondays and Wednesday nights, owner of Grant Designs.
And this is Rob Sherwood, driver of the 93 when I'm there, but avid CRL spectating god.
We do have the ARCA champion with us tonight, Bobby Mantil. How you doing?
I'm good.
We are super excited to have you on the podcast. I guess it'd be this morning when everyone's listening to it. But we just wrapped up the CRL ARCA Series season presented by Grant Designs, and you can catch the whole season on OSR Network on YouTube. But we wrapped up the 12 race season. Very exciting season. I feel like that car really suits everyone very, very well. But the man that came out on top was Bobby, and really the king of consistency. I mean, really, he proved that consistency is king or key. And how exactly did you manage the season and really get at the top fives? I mean, you had 8 of them all season, 9 top tens. Won the championship by 6 points. How did you really stay at it all season?
Well, I just always went into the races, and my main goal was just to survive and try to finish on the lead lap if I could. So I'd go into these, and I would just try not to race over my head. Take it easy at first if I wasn't too familiar with the track, take my time to learn it, see where the racing lines were, study the competition, try and see where guys were stronger or weaker compared to me, and then I would just pick and choose my battles. And in these type of races in this level of competition, you just gotta learn. You gotta know when to let somebody go, when to just let them take off, burn their tires up, hang back, save your stuff, or you got to know when it's go time and you got to be aggressive and go for the pass. So it's taken me a lot of time to learn that racecraft, and I think that's ultimately what got me through to the championship.
And yeah, you've had such a fantastic season in the first season of the ARCA Series presented by Grant Designs. Me, as the owner of Grant Designs, and not only racing in the series and sponsoring the series, but going back and just watching the races, like you put on such a masterful class of racecraft, and it's racing behind you. I see it. Racing with you, I see it. You've taught me so much since you've joined the ranks over here in High Five Racing, and I've joined the ranks over in Grim Reaper. I just got to know what got you into racing, really, and where did the love for racing come from, and how'd you get into iRacing?
Well, I always wanted to race growing up, but I never had the means to do so. So, all my racing came from like Forza back in the Xbox days, and I loved that. And I was playing consoles for a while and had a roommate who was harassing me to get a computer. And we got into COVID times, and he found a really good sale. So I figured, screw it. Okay, you know what? I'll go into it. Went in, bought the computer, and the sales guy was talking to me. He's like, okay, well, what kind of games are you going to play? And I was like, well, probably some shooters, maybe a little bit of racing. And that's when I first learned about iRacing. He told me if I really wanted to get into racing, that was the game to do it. So I thought about it for a while, watched out for some sales, and then I picked up a Logitech G923. That was my intro to it. So I mounted that up to the desk, started racing, and started falling in love. And with that Logitech wheel, there was a brochure in there for Playseat. And at the time, I didn't really know anything about sim racing and all that, and all the different rigs that were out there. So I just went with that, and I got a Playseat rig. It's a beautiful rig, but the unfortunate part is I'm just locked into that ecosystem now. Had I known more, I probably would have gone with like a traditional aluminum rig. But anyways, so yeah, I started it with the Carb Cup when I got into it. My old man, he was a big NASCAR fan, so I wanted to see what it was all about. Had a ton of fun with that, and then I decided it was time to progress through the ranks. So I got through rookie, got through D, and then I got into the trucks, and that's when I truly fell in love. So I did a bunch of racing there, started getting into some hosted. I found a league, and that's when I stumbled across the Global Racing League. And I had a ton of fun there. It was pretty competitive. And at the time, I was on a single screen, and I wanted more. I wanted to get better. So I started diving deep into it. I got into VR, and that was a ton of fun, and my racing improved from there. But then what was holding me back was the rest of my gear. So I went in even deeper. I decided I was going to go all in. So I got a direct drive wheel, and I didn't cheap out either. I got into SimiCube 2 Pro, Huysenfeld Ultimate pedals, and I didn't want my gear to be holding me back. I wanted it to be the best of the best, and all that was on the line was my driving. And I just gradually improved from there. And that's what led me to where I am here today.
So now that you've gotten into it and you've had your own experience, what would you recommend somebody who is kind of either cost prohibitive, maybe scared to get into iRacing, or even just somebody who has an unlimited budget, that it just doesn't have a ton of experience? How would you recommend them going about them doing it based on how you've done it?
I kind of like the approach I took to it because Logitech was like a cheaper way to get into it. But if you got a little more funds to do so, like I'd highly recommend you get into a direct drive because there's a ton of them on the market, and all varying prices and varying strengths. So if I were to do it all over again, I'd probably hold off a little bit longer, save a bit more money, and go the direct drive route and go from there.
Yeah, I actually just purchased my first direct drive through Moza. I had talked about it with the guys on the podcast, and I love it. So I definitely I agree with that. I think it's definitely worth the money. It makes it so much more immersive, and especially people who want to do multi styles of racing. We're actually doing Spa 24 this weekend, so that'll be my first experience with this. But yeah, I bought my Formula attachment for my direct drive wheel, and I love it. So I agree.
Oh, it's just a day and night difference between like feeling all the details on the track. You feel the weight shifting in the car. You're just so much more in tune with what you're doing.
Yeah, I think me and Caleb both started out on a G29, which is similar to your G923. Yeah, we both started out on the Logitech stuff too, and the Logitech pedals where they're just so like arcade-ish, and then it's just crazy. The difference between the Logitech and the starter kit to get into iRacing to the direct drive stuff, which I have now with Fanatec, and still using the CSL pedals. I'm planning to upgrade here soon, so I have a few different options through Fanatec. There's like a SimCube app or website that you can buy from, and then there's a couple more that I've been looking at. But the load cell pedals, they make a huge difference from your just regular old CSL pedals.
Well, I guess kind of shifting away from sim racing equipment, let's kind of narrow down on the league focus a little bit. You know, I think, Jacob's talked about y'all's relationship, and he met you in global. What kind of interested you in hopping over and racing with Clean Racing, whether it be just on Wednesdays or even a little bit on Mondays? Because I know you tried to get there as much as you can on Mondays.
Yeah, well, I just started getting away from the official races. They're kind of fun, but they can also be a crapshoot. You never know who you're going to get up against, how the splits are going to work out. And you can have an amazing race and you can have a completely shit one. So I started moving over towards more leagues. And Jacob had mentioned this one through Global. And I was really excited to get into the new ARCA cars because they had just been updated shortly before this league. So really, that's what drew me in. I wanted to get into those, get into the new cars, do something new and see how I could compete in a totally different car. Because before that, I was primarily just in the trucks.
How's your time in CRL been? Like, what has been the best part about being in the Clean Racing League?
My time here has been awesome. Like, I think it's a great thing that you guys have going on here. Great introduction into the Clean Racing League. It's a foot in the door to get towards the truck series if you can prove yourself. So I think it's really cool. But my favorite part about this whole season was definitely Watkins Glen against Caleb. Him and I were talking about this a little bit before we got on for the podcast, and that is like one of my all-time favorite road course races. Like, I absolutely love these stock cars at road courses. There's something about high horsepower, low aerodynamics, and just trying to throw that thing around the course and absolutely on limit the whole time. But That race was something else. I've had lots of fun, and usually there's a few good battles throughout, but that race was basically the entire 30 laps of Caleb and I just duking it out, and all it took was just a couple of mistakes from either of us to change who was out in the lead, and it was a ton of fun. I was sweating at the end of that one because I was working for that one, but it was a ton of fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun in the Watkins Glen race. It was definitely a ton of fun battling you on the racetrack. Definitely one of my favorite road course races I've ever been a part of. But earlier you talked about the entry level to getting to the Truck Series in CRL, and I feel like that's a good segue point into talking about a new series that was just announced earlier this week, the CRL Elite Series, which will take place on Tuesday nights in the Xfinity car, presented by Apex Mountain Apparel, which is a sponsor of the 94 car and truck of Joshua Altus. So that's pretty exciting news that we just got this week. But that's a series that we can all race in. It's where elite level talent like champions like Bobby, Jacob, and race winners like me and Rob can go and race and really try to put on a show. Um, in this Xfinity car, which in my opinion is the hardest to drive in the entirety of the stock cars on iRacing. Uh, I do not like it at all. Rob, Jacob, what are your opinions? Bobby, you can also, if you wish.
I'm personally, I'm super stoked about it. I'd love to have an outlet to go to. This is gonna sound very douchebaggish, but when am I not? You know what I'm saying? It's a good outlet to go to race against some of the best drivers in the CRL without having to worry about somebody getting in your way due to lack of inexperience, or lack of experience, and just doing something that would just piss us off royally. And I'm a prime example of somebody getting pissed off in the heat of a moment kind of situation. And
We know.
it's just great to have a place to go and race, and just race as hard as we can, and like you said, put on a hell of a show for the fans.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm also excited to kind of see the best of the best for the guys that show up here week in and week out, because obviously as competitive as Monday is, then you get even more so. So it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, I'd love to take a shot at it too, but unfortunately for me right now, Tuesdays are booked up until the end of October with another league. But depending on when you guys are planning on starting this, I will definitely show up and see what I can do against the best of the best.
Yeah, and I know there was a kind of a rumor swirling that elite drivers would have limited starts in the ARCA series. Um, so I know we have some ARCA drivers that are trying to work their way up to the truck series. Um, so you know have limited starts. Take some of those drivers that are elite and get them out of that field. Could potentially make for some even better racing in the ARCA series in the long term, and just seeing those drivers progress through the ranks. I know we had some ARCA drivers who completed their 5 starts, uh, raced their way into some races in the truck series, and they're still doing that. They have to qualify their way in, but it's been very exciting to see the ARC series grow alongside the truck series, and then just to see the Elite series be added on top of it. There really is um, going to be a full schedule starting next season between all three series. Um, but to shift to our next topic, we do have we do have to talk about the truck series because we are currently in the middle of our playoffs. Just finished the round of 12. 4 drivers did get eliminated after Richmond, um, which was had a few cautions. But we're gonna back it up even further. We're gonna go talk about Pocono real quick. Because every time this driver wins, we don't have a podcast. And we didn't talk about it the last time. Parker Collins, who will be our guest next week, and we'll talk about this further then, but ended up winning Pocono, the Loosest Fast podcast, 188 from Pocono. And then you had Ricky Harden in second, Josh Wallace is in third, where we've seen 34 trucks take the field. And so it was a really good race all around. Had some exciting moments, I guess, if you count fuel saving. I don't think we want to go any further into that, do we?
I don't know.
I
Ask the
mean,
S&B boys.
we're not going to go there.
Yeah, there's a certain driver.
People are fond of fuel saving when it goes their way. They're not fond of it when it doesn't go their way.
I don't like the fuel
Nah,
saving.
I only hate it when it goes S&B's way.
That my
he's got
point
a
exactly.
He's got a point. Anyway, fuck those guys. Moving on to Richmond, which was the final race of the round of 12. We had 6 cautions for 24 laps. We seen Ross Tatum and win the race. So him and Parker advanced to the next round just off wins alone. And then you had Josh Wallace's second, 2 podiums in a row for him, and then Lane Hostler, who was kind of dominant in the beginning part of that race. We also seen 31 trucks take the start for the green flag in that race. But we had some chaos with some of those cautions and how that played out. And these are the drivers that ended up getting eliminated from the round of 8. You had Scott Simley, who had a pretty consistent season all the way around. He's out of it. Evan Kinney, won his way in at the road course at Watkins Glen. Judson Curtis, our Daytona winner, had a pretty consistent season. Had a good season going. Mike Kelly won a race this season. So I mean, these are not, bad drivers. These are good drivers. I guess it really goes for how competitive this series is. But yeah, I mean, they'll be back at it again next season. I'm sure of it. But to go on to our drivers that are still in the fight for the belt in the CRL Truck Series, you got Ross Tatum, 23 points above the cut line. Parker Collins, plus 16 above the cut line. Lane Hostler, plus 13 on the cut line. Jacob Grant, our boy, plus 3 on the cut line. And then these are the drivers facing elimination at the moment, heading into Indianapolis. Monday night, Jordan Trask, -3. Ricky Harden, -4. The 23 of Chuck, not even going to attempt the last name, I'm sorry. He's -5. And Josh Waltis, Rob's boy, -5. So Ross Tatum, Parker Collins, Lane Hostler, in a pretty good position points wise. They have those bonus points. Winning the races and all of that. Jacob, you're kind of in the red zone here, +3. I know we did a practice last night, Indy. You're quick. You worked on your tire saving. How are you feeling going into Indianapolis, knowing you're on the cut line?
It's definitely going to be a battle of track position at Indianapolis on Monday night. Honestly, I think I'm going to have to finish in the top 5 just to even stay in 4th place in points, right? Because, Josh is fast at Indy. Ricky's fast every single week. Chuck's fast. Jordan's fast. So, these are all drivers who consistently prove that they're fast and drive up to the front and race around in the top 5, top 10 every single week. So it's definitely going to be a battle Monday night. But I don't know. I feel like as long as I can qualify well and get up towards the front. I feel like I can save enough tire as long as it goes green. Like I saved a pretty good amount of tire last night and still was keeping pace. So I'm feeling pretty confident about it, honestly, about at least going in and getting a top 5 finish as long as no crazy business happens and everything goes smoothly.
When you get to this point in the playoffs, like you're going against the best of the best. So I mean, when you really have to be competing for top fives to be putting yourself in good positions, and you've got two very opposite rounds coming, or opposite racetracks coming up this round, with Indianapolis for race 1 and Phoenix for race 2. So guys don't want to dig themselves into a hole in race 1 that they have to dig out of at Phoenix. Obviously, Phoenix lends itself to a little bit more chaos, just because strategies will vary. Track position is important, and while track position is important at Indy, a lot of spots can be won or lost on pit road in Phoenix, as well as just when cautions fall. So, I know guys are probably chomping at the bit this week to put themselves in a good spot for next week.
And to go off of what you were saying, Rob, about the tracks being two completely different style of tracks for round 2, it was kind of the same way with round 1. You had Pocono and Richmond. Pocono's a pretty fast, intense track, and track position is key. And you got the really fast tunnel turn you got to try to figure out. And Richmond's just a try to save your right rear and not overdrive the corners and stay consistent under braking and just short track racing. And my goal in round 1 was to just go out and get top 5s, like you just said. Like that's to advance in the playoffs and CRL. Top 5s are what you need to advance. So after having the shit season that I had to begin with, and then luckily winning Talladega to lock myself into the playoffs and like 19th in points, I found a way to find consistency in the playoffs, and I got 5th at Pocono and 4th at Richmond. So I can go into Indianapolis with a little bit of confidence about getting a top 5, just because I've already got 2 to start the playoffs. So it'll be fun.
Well, it's about time for everyone's favorite segment of the week, race picks, that we forgot last week, but we're not going to talk about that. So I'm going to lead us off, and I am going to pick my boy, Joshua Altice, to win at Indianapolis and lock himself into the Final Four this week. So haters going to hate.
I don't know. I think I'm like Parker's just on a tear right now, and last time we went to Indy, I'm pretty sure he won. And it's really hard to tell who's going to win. So, like, last night we did a practice race, and I got out front, and the dirty air from second and third, like, you just couldn't close that half a second gap. And in the long run, when your tires start to wear, the leader just keeps pulling away and pulling away and pulling away until you lose the draft, and then he just keeps pulling away. So, it's honestly just whoever gets out front. And if we think about people who can get out front and qualify well and get up towards the front, you got to think about Ross. You got to think about Parker, Jordan Trass. There's a lot of guys who can lay down a heater at Indianapolis and just get that clean air out front. I don't know. I think Ross goes back to back and wins and locks himself into the Final Four with a win in Indianapolis.
If you're thinking about past Indianapolis races, Josh comes to mind. Jacob, you come to mind. It's a toss up between you two. If I'm going to pick one, it's going to have to be Jacob. He is my teammate. But Josh has history with Indianapolis. I think he looked good last night in the practice session, but I'm gonna have to go with Jacob. He's going to win. He's going to lock himself into the championship 4, and he's finally going to bring home one of those belts please.
I'll do my best.
Well,
Can we get Bobby's input on this?
yeah,
Absolutely.
Bobby, you want to make a pick?
I'm probably a little biased in this, and I haven't really paid attention to the truck series, but I gotta give my boy Jacob a shout out and go with him. He's my favorite for this, because he's the one that brought me into this. He's the one that got me here, and he's the one that led me to my first championship ever. So I'm going with the number 19.
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, we we do have to thank our sponsors that make the CRL Truck Series, CRL ARCA Series, and soon to be CRL Elite Series, and this podcast going. We have to thank Ghost Athletics for sponsoring our Truck Series that you can catch on OSRN Monday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Grant Designs, who sponsors our ARCA series on Wednesdays, which next season, well, you can catch all of our past season on OSRN, and then our Elite series, which will be on Tuesday nights, also on OSRN. But also our new sponsor, Apex Mountain Apparel. So super happy to have them on board for the Elite
Yeah.
series.
And real quick, I want to shout Drew out because I know he listens to this podcast and he's super excited to come on board and join the series. So I know that's an exciting thing for him and an exciting thing for us, kind of like you said, Caleb, to have him join the ranks now.
Yeah, I mean it's super exciting having someone someone new come into the series sponsoring us and this series. So we're super happy to have him on board for the foreseeable
Welcome to our
future.
dysfunctional family.
Correct. But yeah, I hear that we're getting some CRO merch, which that's pretty neat, and I'm pretty excited about that because I would rock a CRO podcast shirt. That would that would be really cool.
I'll have to talk to him about that. I bet we can make that happen.
Yeah, and you can, and whenever it gets all done and stuff, you can find it at apexmountainapparel.com.
Correct, and you can check out their selection of t-shirts, hoodies, and all of your apparel over there. Once again, Apex Mountain Apparel. But that will wrap up this week's episode of the CRL Podcast. Once again, thank you to our ARC Series champion, Bobby Mantil, for coming on for this episode.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for bringing me on this podcast. It was a ton of fun today. I had a blast with this first season of ARCA. Stoked to be the first ARCA season champion, and I'm really looking forward to season 2 and seeing what you guys got for the champ.
And you can catch the CRL Podcast every Friday morning at 10 a.m. on Spotify and YouTube. But until next week, bye-bye.